Hello and welcome to Touchline from Casper and Mark Cameron. Hello, Mark.
Gus, nice seeing you again.
Yes, let's talk some rugby. We've got a guest in the studio tonight by the name of Jono Piek. Jono's from Optimum. Jono, welcome and nice having you in the studio. Jono, if I can start, Optimum got involved in club rugby in KZN and you guys are getting more and more involved. Tell us a little bit about how did Optimum get involved and what was the thinking behind Optimum in club rugby in KZN?
Yeah, look, so Optimum is a very popular and well-known brand in the United Kingdom. And so the Superior Leisure Holdings signed an agreement to be the suppliers of the entire Africa. And us being big rugby fans, you know, we wanted to give back to the rugby community. And so we actually started with Harlequins Rugby Club. We identified them and as a title sponsor. And then the picture just got bigger. You know, we've been fortunate, we've been blessed, and we decided to get involved with KZNRU and all of club rugby to get our brand out there and to show the people what we're about.
Why Harlequins Rugby Club? Why not Toti? Why Harlequins?
I see the laugh there from Mark. So, you know, obviously to go straight to a Prem Div club, you know, generally the Premier Division clubs have sponsors, things are going well, you know, where a club like Harlequins has got such a rich history. You know, they also got relationships with Pretoria, and then again, you've got Harlequins in the UK, etc. So we wanted to bring Harlequins back to Prem Div status. So this is our first year as their sponsor, a title sponsor, and our goal is to help them to get back into the Premier Division, to compete and have the old hardcore, harde rugby from the Bluff.
From the Bluff. Rough and tough from the Bluff.
For sure.
Your involvement now in club rugby stretches now into the Optimum Cup and a lot more than just one club. Why did you guys decide to go into something like the Optimum Cup now?
Look, we're on a campaign, a sponsorship campaign, which is part of our brand awareness. And what better than to get involved with club rugby? You know, COVID, it was a tough time, and people are all excited to be out and about again. So, you know, we just found that that's an awesome platform to be involved in. You know, it reaches a lot of players and people out there. And it's just the beginning of bigger things to come from our side. I think there's bigger objectives and goals, you know, that we want to reach. But it was an awesome start with the clubs. And, yeah, there was some really good entertainment rugby. It made it worthwhile being involved.
It does. Just a quick fire quiz. Quickly.
Yeah.
He was never quick in his life, so but good luck with this one.
Let's see how quick you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. They tell me you played prop, but I'm sure you're a wing. Let's see. Your first car and the car you drive now.
Yeah, the Corsa Light, believe it or not, and I drive a Toyota RAV4 now.
That's it. Pizza, pasta.
Pasta for the win.
Pasta for the win. Food you absolutely hate on your plate.
Any prop, it must be vegetables.
Can see that.
Best holiday destination. Say Toti.
Oh, Ibiza in Spain, not Toti.
Oh, that's like on the south coast of KZN, same place.
Yeah, it's a Toti upper class.
Your dream job when you were little.
Optimum.
Pilot, being a pilot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now the big one. The moment you regret the most on the field.
Yeah.
Come.
Mana.
Bring.
Now you put me on the spot.
Bring.
Played a game for Collegians against Crusaders. I could confidently say I've never been bounced in my life, but that one night made a tackle, and as I looked up, the big flanker came running at me, and needless to say, I went back to the ground and ended up scoring a try from there. So that was one I'd like to forget about.
So when you say big, you mean he was bigger than you? No, not now.
No. That, I don't think that was possible, but he was strong. Let's give him that.
Your favorite book?
My Best Life Now by Joel Osteen.
Career highlight?
When the master himself, Ian Mack, and Dick Me identified me from Currie Cup trials and pulled me up to the extended Shark squad. You know, to be involved with that setup was awesome.
Cool. Thank you very much. Now, tell us a bit about your call-up to the extended Shark squad.
Yeah, so I mean, the Sharks, back then we used to have trials every year for the Currie Cup guys. And we used to play, I think the best club guys would get asked to play. And we played on the park. And I got the call the following week to come and join the Sharks training. And at that time, I was probably carrying a couple of extra kgs. I was a proper old school prop where you're allowed to be heavy, not in the modern day where you have to be light and quick. And I trained with them, gymmed with the Oaks. The field sessions was an awesome experience. And I think the patience just wasn't with me. I think if I kept my head down a bit longer, I would have had more success.
Then identifying players. You said Ian Mack identified you and pulled you up to the extended squad. You are involved in identifying players and recruiting players. Explain to us a little bit, how does that system work and how do you go about it?
Yeah, look, so the recruitment or talent identification is quite an important role because it has such a big impact on these boys or players that you deal with. You know, often guys think you go for the biggest boys and that's how you're going to win games. But we actually look at the skills of the boys. We try and get a bit of a background information about the chaps. It's not just about size because they can be big at under 13. When they get to under 16, some of the boys, they've already fully grown at under 13. They don't go further. So to us, the skills is very important. The understanding of the game, and also their general mannerism. Is there respect? You get guys who think they're bigger than the game, and unfortunately, that does not sit well with us.
How did you get involved in Optimum? Being involved in rugby, how did you actually get involved in Optimum?
So Mr. Besaidenout, the CEO of Optimum, is actually parents at Glenwood High School and also a very big rugby fan. We talk a lot of rugby, etc. And one of the things we're chatting about is to bring in another strong brand that is rugby related into South Africa. And so that's where Mr. Besaidenout asked me with my marketing experience and my networking in the rugby community to help him launch the brand, in Durban. And it took on so well. We've been, like I said, we've been blessed. It's gone quick. So, all happy days.
So what's the future? What's your view for the future for Optimum?
Look, Optimum, we want to make it an international brand. In fact, we're already getting queries from out of country, other African countries about our brand, wanting to bring it across. So we would like to compete with the top brands that is in South Africa, not just from an apparel point of view, but from a rugby ball, equipment, those things as well. And we want to be a top brand in South Africa and then further as well.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to URC Rugby, United Rugby Championships. I'm sure you guys have watched some of the games. Let's move on to that. Let's chat about that a bit. Two games that stood out for me personally was the Sharks game against the Dragons, and then the Lions that actually showed that they can do it at Ellis Park. Good games. Jono, if I can start with you, the Sharks game. Your thoughts on that one?
When a team just comes with wave after wave, they're playing in their comfort zone, their happy place, and they kept their patience. That is nice building up to then the channels are breaking down. You have the guy like Werner Kop, who just doesn't stop. He puts in 200%. It was a general great all-round effort from the Sharks. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah. Mark?
Sorry. Yes, guys. I'm smiling, guys. I think I haven't said this
said
much in ever the 81 episodes that we've ever had.
Jono, I'm going to give you a medal after this. You're the first person that could actually silence Mark.
Did you see the size of this guy? Sorry, where were we?
Where were we?
So, no, I agree with Jono. Jono, we've alluded to it over the last couple of weeks, as in disappointment is probably a harsh word with regards to the Sharks as to where we could be playing and where we are currently playing. And part of the reason, obviously being fanatic rugby supporters in South Africa, not Sharks specific, is the way the Sharks have conducted themselves with a Springboks that is in the squad. So obviously with the box being there, we want more in not only in the result, but in the way they play and whatever. And if the past weekend could lead us into that, I think that's the type of brand that we want to play, and obviously more. But yet we've been battling over the last past weeks. Obviously we've won, except for 2 weeks ago when we fell short. But I think momentum is vital for us now. We back up there. I think we've only got one game left, if I'm not mistaken, in the US. No, I'm talking out of turn here. We still have to play our local derbies and whatever. I'm just going on how many games we've played. So we've got lots to play for now, because obviously last weekend or 2 weeks ago we dropped 3 places, and now the Bulls and the Stormers have gone past us. But to go back to this weekend's game, if we can continue like that, and Jono hit it on the head, if we had 22 Werner Cox, I think we would be phenomenal. That guy is a Duracell battery that just keeps going and going and going. And it's obviously a lot of the sevens that come through that. But ending off on your question, I think if the Sharks can just keep that momentum going now into all the other games and know that there's still playoff places to play for, I think we'll do quite well.
Then the Lions Edinburgh. I mean, we spoke about that game and we said that will be a test for the Lions, and I think they've done well.
Yeah, look, we've been fortunate to, obviously, as we said in the past chat, to Ricardo Loubser and that. And when the URC started, Ricardo spoke about their defensive alignment that they had to change, the mindsets had to change, obviously new coaching staff. They went away to Europe in the beginning. The first game, I think, they did well, and then it started going south. And I don't know what has happened, but what one also needs to do here, Cash van Rooyen was put under a lot of pressure after everything had gone south. And you can say what you want to, he had to have an influence in this in the last 4 weeks or so for the change in mindset, change in self-belief. They are playing phenomenal rugby and I say this with respect, there's no name brands, there's no Springboks, there's no players, it's all youngsters coming through the ranks. Yes, if you go further out to the Currie Cup and under 20s, there's still maybe a question, but it starts with your flagship, and they've done something right, and may that continue, because that sets the bar. And because they are out of it, if you think about the playoffs, they can do South Africa a favour by continuing what they're doing and then building towards next year, obviously.
They can. 4 out of 4 again for South Africa. The Bulls and Stormers also won. How does that vote for South African rugby? Jono?
Yeah, I think, there was a bit of panic stations when we went across there, played in their conditions, and people were concerned about what's going on with South African rugby. But it's a different ball game being on our home ground, playing in our conditions. Yep. And I think now the goal is that when we do go back and play in those conditions, we step up. We prepare better for that. I definitely think all our provinces have showed that we are definitely able to be in that league. And it was a good eye-opener and a good testing period, that first few games. But now if we want to be the champs, we've got to step up and perform away from home and in Europe as well.
I just think, and I add to what Jono is saying, when the URC started in the beginning, we didn't have our box when we went and played in Europe. Sorry. And then, obviously, they had all their Six Nations players available. When they started touring here, all our box were back. Their Six Nation players were out. Obviously, playing at home with our box made a difference. So it was tit for tat, if we can call it like that, and both sides of the first half of the URC. What's going to be important now is when we go back with our box and we play against their best, that's where we're going to see the real
with
depth
all the
of
Six
us.
Nation players.
One of the teams that I've got question marks on, that's going to be very, very difficult, is Leinster. So if we can crack that nut, our teams would have done well. But I agree with you. I think strength versus strengths, and that's what we want. But the last few weeks, even from a Lions perspective, would have put South Africa on the map. The self-belief, the self-confidence would come back. And what better place to challenge yourself away from home in a foreign country?
Definitely. Then this coming weekend, on Saturday, we've got the local derbies. Stormers, Bulls, Sharks, Lions. Stormers at home, Sharks at home. Jono?
Definitely Sharks at home. And then my second team is always going to be the Bulls. I like the physicality they have, they've always had. So I'm going to go Sharks, Bulls victories this weekend.
Sharks, Bulls.
You know,
Mark, it's not a trick question.
It is actually. It's difficult. You know, the Lions and the Cheetahs in the past have been the Sharks' question mark.
Nemesis.
So the Lions are on the up.
Yes.
They are coming for the Sharks. I do believe, though, that the Sharks should be better than them. I do believe that the Sharks have got it in them to beat the Lions, especially at home. But the Lions have now found that lost self-belief that they didn't have, and they would back themselves because, let's face it, the Sharks haven't played their best rugby.
No, they haven't.
So we said this a few weeks ago against the Bulls. They were up for the taking. I think the Sharks, is from a Lions perspective, and that's your team, the Lions would believe they could come to Durban and beat the Sharks. The Bulls
Jono's not a joke, eh? It's the truth.
Yeah, for his sins. And then the Bulls Stormers, I think that's going to be the game of the weekend.
Yeah.
The Stormers are playing phenomenal rugby. Their backline is on form. Their forwards are starting. Evan Roos is playing phenomenal rugby yet again after his injury. But as a pack, they're working well. As I said, the back three are world-class finishers. The Bulls will have to be on song, but the Bulls are, I think, finally they've also turned the table. They are in the right direction again. I think that's going to be a tough clash. But my wife's a Bulls supporter, so I'll back the Bulls for this one.
Only because you're scared. Do you think that the Lions can do our franchises a favor by losing to the Sharks?
Yeah.
Or are they going to come here to take
won't.
that win?
Yeah, they won't. Sorry, I'll leave that one to you to discuss, Jono.
Yeah, I think they've got too much pride to just go lie down and give up a victory. And like you said, they've just built all this momentum, and they're going to want to continue with that. So I guess it would be nice for the South African sides to help each other out, but also think that you've got to earn and deserve your victory. And I don't think the Lions is a team that's just going to roll over for the sake of a South African side progressing in the franchise.
I agree with you. I think there's too much rugby still left in the competition. The Lions would want to improve their log standing. They would now have set themselves new goals as to where they want to be.
Yes.
And maybe if you brought in another team outside of our country, but when we play against each other, it's like the Springboks playing the All Blacks. There's just no two ways about it. And the Lions would obviously, as Jono said, want to prepare themselves and keep working and keep chipping away at the block. There's still lots of rugby left, so I don't think that will happen. And one has to think about this. These guys are all contracted players. Yes. That's their livelihood. They have to perform. I think there were harsh words spoken prior to their change, and they will definitely not look back, for sure.
Let's talk about our Currie Cup. There weren't any games played this week. The fixtures coming up: Pumas Lions in Nelspruit, Griquas Natal Sharks in Kimberley, and then the Blue Bulls Western Province in Bloemfontein. Jono, if I can start with you now, Pumas Lions.
Yeah, look, that's what I'm going to have to go with the Pumas. They got their full strength side. Lions. I know that from the under-20s up to the URC side, there's players doubling up in some cases. I think the depth is not great, so the Currie Cup can be too strong. So I'm going to have to back the Pumas, sadly, on that one.
Okay. Mark?
Just because it's you, I will also go for the Pumas. No, I'm kidding. No, definitely. I mean, if you look at the way the Pumas are playing currently, they are obviously at full strength, where the franchises playing in the URC obviously aren't at full strength. Yes, they do release the odd player every now and again. But if you look at what the Pumas did to the Western Province side a week ago in the Cape, I think the Pumas would be too strong, for sure. And the Lions, unfortunately, as we said, from the under-20s through to the Currie Cup teams, they've been battling, and I don't think they'll be up to it, and especially playing away.
Griquas Sharks in Kimberley.
Yeah, anybody going to Kimberley will know it's a tough ground to play at. And again, I think it's a very similar situation in that Griquas is a full strength squad. So I know the Sharks have come short there once or twice in the past. This again being the Currie Cup. I'm going to have to back the underdog here, and I think the Griquas will make it hard for the Sharks to walk out as victors.
Sure, as a Shark supporter.
Sorry.
Mark?
I was hoping you'd ask the guy next to me.
Come.
So, no, I
I've got
agree.
Sean's number here. I'm going to phone him just now.
Yeah, so, no, I look...
Etienne, I'll phone Etienne. I'll
Finn.
tell Etienne, yeah.
So, sorry, Etienne, I'm going against you. Now, look, the Sharks side is still a phenomenal side. Part of the problem that we've had, we were top of the log, but we lost the last two, and it started with the Bulls. The last time we played here was against the Cheetahs in the rain, and if you've really analysed the game, the Cheetahs had our number. From a Griquas point of view, they would definitely back themselves, and yet again we go full strength to not full strength. In theory, the bigger union like ourselves should be better than that. So I think if we were still top of the log or we hadn't lost two on the trot, maybe I would have gone differently, but I'm going against the Sharks in Kimberley. I think it might just be a tough one for them. Hopefully not, because the Sharks need to use this one to turn the table. Otherwise, we might kiss the Currie Cup goodbye.
Yeah.
Sadly so.
And then Bulls, Western Province, Loftus. Jono, I know which way you're going to go there.
Province.
Yeah, that one I'm not even going to try and put a story together. Bulls, it's a simple answer.
Bulls.
Yeah.
I agree, and sadly, it's not like the URC where it's a debate, although you go on your gut feel. I think this one, if you look at what Pumas did to Western Province 2 weeks ago, and you look at how the Bulls have actually increased intensity, started getting their structures right, and how they've actually improved over the last 3 or 4 weeks, my money for the Currie Cup final is the Bulls, and I think they're going to be too strong, sadly.
Then let's talk some Varsity Cup. Round 7 Varsity Cup. University of the Western Cape versus Central University of Technology. Close game. Very close game. Then we have Ike's Marties. Ike's beating Marties. We've got Tuks and Wits. Also a close game in the sense of Tukkies against Wits. 39-24. Then we've got the Eagles versus Madibas, which was a big score. And then UJ versus Shimlas. Shimlas coming back with a bang. Shimlas been battling a bit, and now they're back 2 weeks in a row. If we can talk about the big ones, let's talk about Ike's Marties. Jono, if I can start with you. Ike's Marties, good game.
Look, I'll be honest, I'm not, at this current stage, I haven't been the biggest follower of the Varsity Cup in terms of watching the games, obviously just following the results a bit, because it is interesting to see what the depth in the provinces are like when it comes to, that level of rugby. I've always been a fan of the Ikeys, and, I think that they'll be one to watch again at the end.
Yeah, I just think as a local derby, I think that was a surprise in the sense of the score, 44-27 to the Ikeys. I think there's a massive derby and rivalry between those two. I don't think Doc Craven would have been too happy with the Marties score. And let's face it, Marties haven't set the world alight this year.
No, they haven't.
We know they normally top 1, top 2, round about there, or that's where they stake
If you take last year, Tuks and Marties were on top all the way, and it was for everybody else chasing those two, and they're in the mix now. They're way down, and they're in the mix.
No, 100%.
They're not dominating anything.
But I just think Marties are definitely under par as to where they normally are at. What it is, I don't know. I mean, that's rugby for you. 1 year you're there, next year you're not. Same personnel, same coaching staff. Can't answer that question. But from a Cape Derby point of view, I think Cape Town as in Cape Townians,
Yes.
regardless of who they support, would be disappointed with regards to the Marties, because Marties, I think, is the brand of Cape Town rugby
Yes.
at varsity level. Not taking anything away from Ikes, they are definitely the top two, but Ikes will take it any day. To put 44 points past Marties. I mean, Marties had another big score, I can't remember, I think it was Shimlas, where they put 50 or 60
Yes.
past them in the beginning of
Yeah,
the... I mean, you
Yeah,
will
they did.
never find that in a Varsity Cup, ever. I don't know what happened
Doc
this year.
Craven always said, if Marties do well, Western Province will do well, and if Western
Springboks.
Province do well, the Boks will do well. So,
But then, when
so it looks like we're in trouble here.
when Doc Craven said that, there wasn't buying of players, and all those Marty guys are now at the Bulls.
Then if we can go to Tukkies and Wits, I think Wits did well against them.
Well, even yeah. So in the years gone by that I coached in the Shield, Wits were part of Varsity Shield, and obviously they played their way into the Varsity Cup. They have never really been up there consistently year in and year out since they've been up there. I mean, they're a very good side, don't get me wrong, but yet again, to push Tukkies to the end, basically, in a scoreline like that, 39-24, is a well done and a feather in the cap to Wits for where they want to go and what they want to do. Because Tukkies, like Marties, is the Pretoria-based Marties, if it makes sense, and they pride themselves on what they want and where they want to go. And for a Tukkie side, who's also not been performing consistently week in and week out, I think they would have been disappointed. But well done to Wits, and that's what you want in the Varsity Cup, Jono, and the Varsity Shield. You want, I mean, there's many followers. You want it to be like the Grand Prix, for argument's sake, where it's not like in the past where there was only certain drivers that could make it. Now you've got competition
You've got a
between all,
couple
and
of
that's
them.
what makes it so exciting.
Then let's go to UJ Shimlas. UJ 26, Shimlas 35. Shimlas back. UJ, we said last year UJ were nowhere. This year they came back and they won a couple of games, and they played well, against the bigger sides. Although we said that the Marties and the Ikes, or the Marties and Tucks are battling, UJ did well in the beginning of the season, and a score like that against Shimlas is.
But as for
not bad.
Shimlas, I mean, Shimlas in the Easter festival years gone by, when they played in KZN over that period,
Yes.
Shimlas were always good when the De Wet Russes and whatever played for them. Then they battled a little bit. Swys de Bruin obviously has made a massive change there, and in the beginning of Varsity Cup, they won their first 4. Then they fell out a little bit, and they've come back again. And to push UJ like that is a feather in their cap. But I agree with you. UJ last year was nowhere. They've played some quality rugby this year. There's a few games they could have won where they just didn't make it. But for them as well to push Shimlas like that, I think is great
Brilliant.
for Joburg rugby.
Yeah, if I can talk to, I mean, if I can just go back to Wits. So Wits has been quite more aggressive in their recruitment over the last year or two. So it's nice to see a result coming from that, and it not being a fruitless exercise. And for UJ, I think they might have been affected a bit, because I know over the past few weeks, the Lions have actually pulled up some of the Varsity Cup guys,
correct.
to the Currie Cup system. And so I think that probably had a slight impact on UJ's squad, which then has an impact on their results. Like I said, another Lions Union, the depth isn't great, so they actually are pulling straight from Varsity Cup, where the other big unions have got more depth in terms of contracted players.
So are they beating you to the recruitment? I'll leave it there.
Settle. We'll sign him for Quins, don't worry.
Now we'll talk off air, right?
Fixtures for round 8. University of the Western Cape versus UJ. We've got Shimlas against Tukkies. We've got Marties against Madibas. We've got the Central University of Technology against the Eagles. And then Wits against Ikes. The big one, I think Shimlas Tukkies.
No, I think it's going to be a tough one. Obviously, Tukkies would want to improve where they are, and obviously Shimlas would keep going because they want to aim for that final spot. So I think that's going to be a tough one. But I think there's a few games there. I mean, even the Central University of Technology one against the Eagles would be a nice one. But Bits, I think, and Aikies
is also going to be
could just be a.
Because Aikies need to travel now. Aikies are the ones that travel.
It could just be a nice one to do.
Yeah. Then Varsity Shield, if we can move on to Varsity Shield quickly. Rhodes played Walter Sisulu University, the All Blacks, DUT versus TUT, and then CPUT versus UKZN. I just want to say to Donald, well done. They've got that one.
I spoke to him last night. I
Donald
sent him a
Ngwenya and
message.
his
I said to him, I saw him behind the poles jumping up and down when they came from behind to win that one.
Yes.
And it plays testimony to UKZN. There's a few games that they've had to come from behind to win, and hopefully, I mean, they obviously will be in the semi-finals now. They're currently first but they finished playing. So obviously the other teams have got one game to go, and I think Walter Sisulu would, in all probability, end tops. Regardless of that, I think the UKZN side will be in the semi-final. But I think, Jono, something like that will stand a team in good stead, knowing that they can fight to the end. They don't give up. They will come back, because in this campaign specifically, there's been a few of those.
Yeah, and you know what? I think hats off to Donald and his team. You know, the pre-season, the building up, getting the squad to gel. They put a lot of emphasis on those type of things. And when you have a squad that plays for each other, that's the squad that will pull through in the tough times and get through. So, Donald, the very kind, cool-headed, natured guy that he is, he's done really well to get those boys to fire right through to the end, and we look forward to see how they finish.
I think it takes a few crackers with him every now and again to get
that. I'm sure it does.
Sorry, Don.
If we then can move on to club rugby, the big one, the club rugby, and let's talk about the club rugby try of the weekend. Mark, if you want to take us through that one.
Well, firstly, obviously, that's our opinion yet again.
Yeah.
And the try of the weekend, Jono, is obviously in the Optimum Cup that we're referring to, that you guys sponsored. And obviously, well done on that, on this tournament specific. It was your inaugural one, and I think it was well received. I'm not too sure. Obviously, you were there right until the end, and we're gonna bring a Mamsum Toti into this one for the try of the weekend, or the try of the tournament, I'd say. And I don't know if you'd agree with me. That was the last try that Mamsum Toti scored against Rovers, where Rovers kicked into Mamsum Toti's half, between the 10 and the 20 on the opposite side of the field. And then, as Jono rightfully said earlier on, it's not always the bigger, the stronger guys. It's the smaller, shorter, skillful guys. And, it was
footwork,
sidestepping and footwork, as you said. So let's leave it like that. Let's put it in your court from an Optimum sponsor point of view. You take us through the try of the tournament.
No. Look, when he started,
did you agree with me?
No, 100%. I agree with you on that side. It was phenomenal. I think what made it so great is that fight at the end from Toti coming back. I think 2 minutes before, the scoreboard didn't reflect the fair reflection of the game. But, like I said, it's footwork, the good hand, and just persevering right to the end, that explosive running, and the depth of the game where Oaks are buggered, they're tired. And to see that, actually, we celebrated like we were all part of Toti in that game, but it was a phenomenal try.
Well, I'll finish off on that try now, but I'm glad to hear from an Optimum point we're all part of Toti, so there's good things to come, as he said. So just moving back to that, for the viewers that weren't there, obviously, as Jono said, good footwork, good hands.
Yes.
The winger ran into space, and then obviously he twirled out of a tackle, and then typical sevens pushed the ball wide, which it bounced, and then our scrum half picked the ball up. And then what I enjoyed of this, Jono, is obviously in front of the main pavilion, and they ran towards you guys. He actually stood up. I think it was their fullback with a scrum cap. He did the little David Campisi. And as that guy got flat-footed, he just put on the afterburners and he went around the corner and actually scored in the corner. And you know what was amazing, and this is why we love this game so much. obviously there were many neutral people sitting on the main stand, but when those youngsters started running, the pavilion were up and they were celebrating and
100%.
screaming and shouting for these youngsters, regardless of what team they were supporting, and rugby ultimately won over there. So well done to them.
100%.
100%. If I can just mention a couple of other club rugby results, and I just want to go through the country. And Newcastle Highlanders played first 15, played Central, and they've beaten them 75-5. The second team played Utrecht 105. They've beaten Utrecht 100-5. Germiston Simmers played Union. First team 45-8 against Union. Second team 106-6. And the under-20s 56-14. Then Boksburg played against East Rand United, which is a development side. And they've beaten them 35-34, which was a game of note. And then Drakensberg played Cedara, and they've beaten them 62-5. So in club rugby, coming back in now, there's some huge scores here, and you can see there's clubs that are going to do well, and there's clubs that are really going to battle. These are all warm-up games, and I know it's not strength against strength, and they're not playing in their leagues, but there's some big scores here.
Yeah, look, one never wants to see a massive score like 75 or 100 or whatever, but you need to go to Utrecht. As far as I understand, they are getting back into rugby again, so they're rebuilding and whatever. But regardless, I mean, you don't want any schoolboy side or even international side to lose by 100. It's not good for the game.
It's not.
If I was the coach on either side, I think winning by 100, you won't learn anything out of that game in any case, because there won't be any structure. And then the poor other guys as to where you're going to go, at least there, you say this is where we went wrong in that. So, but it's not good for it's not good for rugby, period. So you don't really want to see things like that, and regardless of whether it's pre-season or not.
Yeah, I think just again, it's sad to say, but that COVID has injured or hurt a few clubs in terms of numbers. You know, and I'll Ruan at Drakensberg, I chatted to him in the week. And they got good support in terms of sponsors, etc. But a few of the clubs not too far from them had closed, and so some of those players fall over to them. So they kind of benefit from an unfortunate moment. And I think that probably alludes to those big scores that have taken place. But no one wants to really see those results. And I think this is going to be hopefully we can get the ball rolling again to get players back to club rugby and to get it going.
But just on that, Jono, if any person, doesn't matter who it is, when you take the field, you give of your best, regardless of whatever. If I look at Toti, for argument's sake, Toti Rugby Club are rebuilding, so we're in a similar boat. Yes, on Saturday it worked for us against Rovers, and granted, but it's not always like that. The guys still need to learn and understand each other and understand the game plan and so forth. But, if you think about it like that, what will happen after a game or two like that, you will start losing those same players again, because they don't want to play and lose like that. And you see it at schoolboy rugby as well, unfortunately.
Let's move on into the Optimum Cup. Let's go back to Optimum and the Optimum Cup that was played, or the finals that were played on Saturday.
You see, when you mention Optimum Cup, he starts smiling, because he knows.
And then suddenly the Optimum badge comes out again as well.
Checking.
We had Harlequins versus Westville Old Boys. Unfortunate for Harlequins. Then we had College Rovers second team playing a Mums and Toti. We spoke a little bit about that game. And then College Rovers versus Varsity College in the main game. College Rovers second team winning the B section final against the Mums and Toti, and College Rovers first team winning the A section against Varsity College. Jono, your thoughts on that whole tournament and how it went from an Optimum side, from an Optimum view?
Let's deal with the little thorn amongst the roses, unfortunately, in that first round where we had two clubs where game wasn't completed as a result of off-field behavior. So, I mean, that wasn't ideal for us. But, we put it behind us. We looked at the best solution going forward, because at the end of the day, we're there for rugby. And so it actually worked out quite nicely for the finals for the teams who ended up playing each other. Yeah, it's a tough one for Harlequins, who've just come up back into first div, but they've played 2 Prem Div sides in 2 weekends, being Toti with great experience in the Prem Div, and then, the Westville Old Boys, they're also coming on very strong. And so it was an awesome experience for the Harlequins guys. I think they will go back to the drawing board and see, where they're short of to reach that goal one day to get back into Prem Div. The Toti Rovers second side, wow, what a game. I mean, like I said, just to see that fight from Toti guys at the end, not giving up. Now, there's a few interesting players there. We can ask the questions off screen as well as to where they come from. Maybe I can get a few tips from you, Mark.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you don't. Of course. They stepped that question. So that was a great comeback from Toti. And then, VC and Rovers, a really good game. The interesting point that, VC scoring more tries, Rovers relying a lot on penalties. But if you look at the depth of what Rovers has, in terms of first and seconds, it's unbelievable. Then you throw up like Jacques Potgieter, ex-Springbok player who comes and, let me come jaw a game here, and then I'm playing for Tel Aviv and whatnot. Now, when you have that type of resource, makes life a bit easier as the coach, I would imagine. But hats off to VC. They really made a good game out of it. Yes. And I'm not sure if I would have gone with the same decision at the end, that last penalty.
I was going to ask the same
go
question.
For 3. I think that's going to become a pretentious chat now. But some coaches I think would have gone a different route. But great game all in all. It really drew the crowd. The people were entertained. We're happy. That's what we're looking for as a sponsor. Yes.
Any comments from your side, Mark?
If Jono is happy, everything is on
Johnny.
Kitori.
Jono is happy.
So, firstly, congratulations to yourself for obviously, as I said, the inaugural Optimum Cup.
Thanks,
and obviously, dealing with whatever happened the previous week and then making the final so successful. Then I just need to say well done to College Rovers on both their teams.
Yes.
And then obviously to Westville Old Boys for putting up a nice display against Harlequins. And yes, 100%. One needs to look at it in perspective. Rovers is a phenomenal side. They narrowly lost to Westville Old Boys is a phenomenal side. They narrowly lost to Rovers the previous week.
Yes.
And then unfortunately, everything just worked for them against Harlequins. Harlequins, we played the week before that. We narrowly beat them. So you can never go week in and week out. But if you really think about it without being arrogant, I think the teams, barring those ones that obviously didn't play now because there might have been something different. But if you look at all those, correct. So if you look at all those, I think the teams that played on Saturday actually did rugby proud.
They did rugby
and that's
proud.
what it's about, So as I said, I've had a chat with a few guys from Rovers itself. I got a call from a coach today to say, with all due respect, Rovers' the second side, and this is exactly what you spoke about now, Jono. Their second side will probably be able to beat many Premier Division first team sides when we play now. That is their strength, So we'll take it on the head as we are rebuilding from a Toti perspective. Lots of positive stuff coming out of there. But as Nas Botha said years ago, the Currie Cup isn't one in May.
No,
so
definitely not
our league is definitely not one in April. So let's see how it goes. But good luck to everyone and well done.
Jono, thank you very much. Thank you to Optimum and your team. And we really appreciate your input and your involvement in Club Rugby in KZN. And thank you. And please send our thanks to Henny and the team.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the chat. It was awesome. And good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jono. I will give you a buzz after this with regards to future
Thank you very
down
much,
the
Mark.
south.
It was a pleasure talking to you again.
So perfect. Nice seeing you.
Thank you. And then thank you very much to our listeners and our viewers. Please join us on Facebook and Instagram and follow us on our social media. From myself, Casper Els, and Mark Cameron, have a great rugby week.